Lead with Legacy, the official podcast of IOL Global. Here, we will explore leadership that outlives titles and trends. Through conversations with faith-based and marketplace leaders, we will discuss integrity, conviction, and purpose. To learn more about us, visit us at iolglobal.com. Hello, welcome back to the Lead with Legacy podcast. So blessed and honored today to have Mr. Clinton Brooks Herman, who's going to explain a little bit more about himself and who he is. But before we get into that, also we have Sloane Lott, the Director of Operations for IOL Global here as well. And such an honor to have her here and a part of these podcasts. Before we get going, I'm just going to give the regular spiel, like, subscribe on your favorite platform. We are on Buzzsprout, YouTube, iHeartRadio, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Amazon Music. And so go there and like and subscribe and comment if you're on YouTube, because it really, really helps us to get more reach. And if you like us, or even if you don't like us, you can still comment. We'll take it. We can take it. So I call you Brooks, but we've known each other virtually for a couple years now. And your beautiful wife and your two beautiful children are down in Houston, Texas. And so we met, has it been 2 years in August? I think 2 years. It's been two.
Shoot, even longer than that. If you go back to the PM Mastery podcast.
You're right. That's right. So we've known each other for quite some time between a couple of different affiliations and projects and things like that. And I've been anxiously awaiting having you on the show. And so thank you for your time. I know you're very, very busy. We're going to talk about that, but you go ahead, tell us who you are, what you do. And then we'll kind of just grill you with some questions.
Sure. Sounds good. Appreciate y'all inviting me on. Yeah. So nice and confusing. My name is in there in the box that says Clinton Brooks Herman. Amanda called me Brooks. I have 3 first names. It's real confusing for everybody. But I do go by Brooks, but don't ever... I respond to all 3, so it's okay. I am a leader of project managers and have been in that role for about 2.5 years now. And I work for a major healthcare institution in the Houston Metroplex. And we particularly work on the MEP infrastructure projects. I've been a project manager prior to that. Oh, goodness, 15, 17, 18 years. I've lost count. I feel like I still do project management. From day to day. It's more of how to build my team members versus how to build a construction project. So,
all right. So for backup just a little bit for people who don't know, which would be me, what is the MEP? I have
MEP,
a go.
Sure.
Say it again.
Oh, mechanical, electrical, and plumbing. So all the things, if you think about your house, I handle all the things that nobody cares about until they break.
Correct. Okay.
I don't get to do the fancy painting on the walls when you want to change it from green to blue or red or whatever. It's all the things that you don't care about until it gets really, really hot or it's really dark because you don't have electricity. So,
but you're doing this on a massive scale, right?
Yes.
Yeah, like not a house, like a mass scale. But you guys just did move.
Yes.
And so that was exciting too, except for that we were talking off air that your air conditioner went off, and in Houston in the summer, that's not exciting.
It's a little toasty. It's a little humid in part of the house.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Well, it's such an honor, truly, to have you on again. I've been anxiously awaiting it. We've had some other conversations on some other platforms. You're brilliant. I was kind of, I'm not making fun of you. I'm laughing at the industry in itself because I've been on a couple recordings lately, and a lot with project managers, and it's all the acronyms and I just don't know them all. And I don't know that anyone knows them all. And I was joking the other day on another recording that I think I'm going to make a quiz. And maybe you can help me with this because you're really brilliant at things like this. And we would make an acronym quiz for project managers and see how many that are actually like, we all know, there's some we know and there's others we don't know. And I was on this other recording the other day and I'm like, I have no idea what y'all are saying. Like nothing. Y'all just went totally down an acronym, like highway that I have no idea. So we had to stop and we had to explain all of those. And I just think it's funny because every time I think I have a grasp on it, then I turn around and I have no idea. Like MEP, I would have had no clue.
Yes.
I'm like, is that a certification? Is that some new thing that I don't know about?
our department alone has a 3-page acronym thing, and
Oh my gosh.
I've got a new PM, and he's already pinged me like, "Hey, what's that mean? You said something." I'm like, "It's not on your list," and he said, "Nope." So
It's a new one.
and
I'm
that's
I'm
just our
telling you, there's a
department.
new one every day. There's a new one.
Yeah, and we're only 1% of the population of our where I work, so there's
Wow.
a lot of other acronyms that are out there. So
It's crazy, yeah. So I'm in my head. I have like this cog going. I probably just put it in your head now of like, well, you already have a spreadsheet of it. So that's one of the things that I really admire about you is like you are a spreadsheet guy. You are crazy organized. Like, I mean, I feel like I'm a planner and organizer, but you absolutely take it to the next level, and I just admire that so much because that just is like a total nerd out, and I love it. And so when on some of the other stuff we worked on, I mean, you are on it. You are ahead of time. Everything is just it is perfect. And so what keeps that drive in you? Is it just intrinsic? Like that's just how you are, or do you work hard at it?
it's a mixture of both. I mean, it's definitely in the blood, but I've always been, I don't want, you never know what's coming up next. Something else is going to hit, and it's going to cause another issue that you weren't planning. As we talked this week, the AC went out. I thought I was going to have no hiccups and be good to go with the podcast, but nope, there's the hiccup. But I mean, we're still good. That it's you kind of have to roll with the punches as they come. But if you plan ahead or start taking care of the tasks before the task is supposed to be done, you're not sitting there rushing around. And then if anyone decides that, hey, we need to make a slight adjustment here, and you can hit the ground running and alter with that adjustment, if you will. So
Yeah, so true. I feel the same way. We can't plan everything, right? It's impossible for us to plan, but if we plan well, hopefully ahead of time, especially on the bigger things, then we're better equipped to deal when something happens. So
yes,
I'm going to let Sloane take us away a little bit and ask some questions back and forth and get to know you a little bit because you guys have been talking virtually, but you guys haven't had a chance to talk yet. And so she's been excited too about this. So
Yeah, Brooks, I feel like I know you. Amanda has spoken so highly of you. I feel like I've known you for as long as she has. So I am excited to jump right in. I'm a middle name person. I go by my middle name. So I understand that. I've had the awkward, they called the first name in a waiting room. And I'm like, why won't that person get up and go? And that person is me.
yeah.
So, and then they think, well, we probably should check her brain while she's here too. But, that's just the way it is.
Sometimes that's worthwhile checking.
Yeah, that's right. You never know. Just proof that I have one would be nice from day to day. But what first drew you into construction and project management?
Sure. So this actually goes back to even preschool. Apparently, I did not. My parents received a call to have me come up there before they did their parents' showing. I forget what they call it, but it's just a show off of the school of what we are teaching your kids and so on and so forth. And they called me up and they're like, "Hey, do you mind bringing your son here early to go mess with the big blocks?" I think they were like big 2x2 blocks or 3x3s. I mean, just big, grand scale. And they're like, "We want him to put it together." So that kind of started I didn't know, but goal to get into construction. But my parents yeah, you should go into architecture and look at that. And then I went through an architecture internship, and that's not for me. More power to the people that can do it. I love playing in AutoCAD, but that was not it. But then I ended up applying to Texas A&M, got accepted, and got into what is called construction science at Texas A&M. And when I was going through the reviews beforehand, I think it's Parents Weekend there, where you can kind of hear about each of the degrees. I was like, oh no, I'm in the wrong degree. Well, sir, sorry. You can't change anything until your first year's up. And most your classes are the same. So I was like, man, that's going to be fun. Hopefully I like this. So ended up going through the first year and didn't change anything. And I've been in project management, if you will, since I graduated from college. But I had time in there where I changed over to the owner's rep role, which is what I'm in now. So it's always been there in the blood, to answer your question. I've always had a desire to be in project management, doing team projects with different team members. I kind of always took the lead and just was like, okay, let's go, let's do this. You're working on this. Let's get this project done and be able to turn it in early. So then the teacher might be able to tell us, hey, make this adjustment. You'll be looking at 5 points more.
So you were the classmate everybody wanted for the group project. Everybody was fingers crossed for Brooks.
Yes.
Assigned to their
a
group.
lot of the times. And I had envy, though, and was like, I want to be on that person's team, too. So it goes all ways, even if you're the one, because I didn't think I was the one, but I look back and I'm like, I guess I was. So
you were the one. So real quick, I'm going to interject. Sorry, Sloane. Because it had slipped my mind that you were an owner's rep. And so for people who are listening who do not know what that is, I want to talk about that because it's a really unique and a really specialized role. It's very cool. And I don't know why it slipped my mind. But anyways, when you said that, it kind of piqued my interest because I want to talk about that. I want you, if you will, to explain to all of us what that role is. Because I had to learn that back when we were working together before. Okay, what is an owner's rep? So some people who are pretty deep in project management probably know that, but others may not. And it's such a specialized, such a very cool role. So tell us a little bit about that. What does that mean, an owner's rep?
Sure. So in perspective, if you think that you're wanting to go build a home, then you end up going to the local home builder and you reach out to them and say, hey, I want to build this, but I act as you as the owner wanting to go build that home. So I don't have direct control of the general contractors. I hire them. I make sure that they're guided towards our typical specs and drawings that were put for the particular project or that we might have if we didn't go get them, our master specs, if you will. And we just make sure that the project at the end of the day is staying within budget, schedule, and turning over to the institution that I work for in a timely manner. And I've done this on the small box retail, large box retail, ground up, tilt walls. I've been in higher ed. Now I'm in healthcare facilities. And research. I've kind of been there, done that. They all have their similarities and nuances and differences for each of them. But at the end of the day, we're making sure that the owner's interests are understood.
Yeah.
So
I think that's really great because you're in the middle of two groups that are speaking totally different languages.
Mm-hmm.
If you were representing me, I would be really technical, like that gray thingy. And you've got to be able, because I don't know, but I know what I want. But then you go to the people who make it happen and you don't say she wants that gray thingy. You tell them exactly what it is and you make sure it's done properly and well. And I think that's really important because I'm doing a small project here where I live and it's difficult. And we just don't speak the same language. And so there's a lot of times he'll say, well, stop by and I'll point it out. Or he takes pictures and I'm like, oh, that's what that's called. And this is a much smaller scale than what you're doing. So I know people are very happy to have you represent them.
Yeah, it's a unique skill to be able to translate, if you will, even though you're speaking the exact same language.
And it's a specialized position too, because you have to be an incredibly trustworthy person. Because if you're working for me as an owner's rep, then you have to know my interest. You have to understand my best interest. You have to understand different things, such as like what my choices are of things. Also, what kind of financial, like you have some power in that.
Yes.
And so you have to understand, like, okay, here's the thresholds of what we have, and I don't want you to go over that, and I want you to do the best to stay within budget. And so somebody who is a good owner's rep is hopefully working very, very hard to get the job done the way that it's been explained to get done, but do it under budget within, the right time frames, not going over in time and things. So it's a massive role. It's very unique, very specialized. And it takes a very, very special kind of person to be able to do that. Because again, like Sloane was saying, you're translating between different languages, really. making sure everyone's on the same page and understanding, and making sure that we get the blue tile and not the pink tile or whatever, or the correct pipes that are going to last longer or whatever. And you're doing this on a mass scale right now, which is really, really incredible. So sorry to veer off on that, but I just thought, I thought that was so interesting. And I remembered when you said that was your role. And I always thought that was just a fascinating role, because it is not one, I know that there are a lot, I'm sure, in project management, a lot of owner rep, but you don't hear about it a lot. A lot of people don't talk about it. It's not something that we discuss. I know, like when you're going through your training for PMI certifications, they touch on it for like a half a second. It's not on the test.
It's very limited. And it's not in school either.
Yeah.
And to be perfectly honest, I landed in it similar to my degree. I wasn't expecting it. I was laid off due to the downturn, and the company that the general contractor I was with didn't have any more work. And then I just started applying to anything I could. And it was really weird. I saw for months something that came up with Francesca's. They're no longer around anymore, but I kept seeing Francesca's. So I was like, I don't know. It could be an Italian restaurant. It could be, even reading the description and where I found the role. Like I told my manager once I ended up there, I was like, I don't know how the heck you found the place to post this, but there's maybe 5 people that look at it. And I was draining the barrel and trying to find anything I could. Cause it was hard it was like 2010. So 2008 had hit, all the bonds were drying up. So it was dead.
Yeah.
And, I finally just said, forget it. I'm going to throw my name in the hat. I have absolutely no clue what I'm doing. I went in there, got to interview, and ended up getting the role. And 5 days after I started, I was already in San Francisco, which goes into the part where I think, Amanda, you and I've talked about before, but when I started as an owner's rep, I'd been to maybe 8 states.
Yeah.
And I have 8 to go.
Yeah, you've almost done the entire thing. So yeah, you're getting there. And you guys you were telling us before, you took a big trip this summer, right?
We did.
Yeah.
We did. We took our 5-year-old to Switzerland and stayed with some friends there. And then we did some gallivanting a little bit with them as well, and went and saw Liechtenstein, which is basically a city-state.
Yeah.
Got to hang out in Austria and the ski slopes a little bit. We didn't ski, a little toasty for that. Then we went down to, northern Italy and eastern France. We stayed a night in. So
I really hate that for you, Brooks.
Yeah.
I really hate that for you.
Rough.
Absolutely.
So yeah, I have a contact. We did some stuff. Gosh, it's been a long time, but he is from Australia, but he lives currently in Switzerland and works there on a contract. And I was so surprised because we were on an interview. It's been probably a year or so, but we were doing an interview, and he was talking about how hot it was that day. And I guess they don't have air conditioners. He was telling us, like, there's no air conditioner because it's not anticipated, but they were getting like into the 80s. And he's like, we're just dying over here. He's like, it's so miserable. And I was like, never, ever in a million years did I think about Switzerland and think hot.
Switzerland's probably not as bad. And where I was in Zurich, you could go hop in the lake. It was 60 degrees. It was really cold, but if you stay in that for a little bit, it was able to make it where it wasn't so bad for the other, when you're dealing with no AC. So, but it was funny because my friends
just preparing you for getting home.
Their room.
So now, as a Southerner, I think we all need to comment on the humidity in Switzerland. Is the humidity anything like what we deal with?
So it is humid there.
Bless them.
It is humid there. I don't, oh man, what was it floating around? Probably 60%. So not as bad as what we see like here in Houston. I mean, we float around 150 to 200.
I was just going to say, Arkansas is like 1,000%. Yeah. It is, especially this summer too. We've had a very different summer than we've had for the last 4 or 5 years. And it is just, I mean, not complaining about the rain because we needed it. We were in a drought, but the humidity is just off the chart. We have we just been melting.
The gardens are happy, but we are
gardens
miserable.
Are happy. Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
It's already hard to breathe.
Yeah. We were thrown for a loop over there. I mean, we originally thought it was going to be in the 60s and 70s. And then we get over there. It was perfect the first morning. And then after that, it was toasty.
So that maybe someone listening needed to know that if you're on your way to Switzerland, you might pack 2 different kinds of sets of clothes because it might be really hot there.
Well, and apparently you have to watch the local weather. Because of the mountains that they're literally sitting in the middle of, the weather changes. The wind can change directions instantaneously. So my assumption is it's probably more like Denver, if you've ever been there, where it can literally rain, snow, and drop temperatures, then go back up to 100 degrees in a matter of like 10 minutes. So,
well, as far as I know, we're not going to Switzerland anytime soon, unfortunately. However, if we are, I'm glad we have that tidbit of information so that we know better and we can pack appropriately. But I'm really glad you guys got to do it. It's really interesting. Yep. Lots of fun.
It was fun.
Yeah. Sloane, what do you have next for us? We got off topic. It's fine.
No, it's fine. So I do want to talk about the healthcare infrastructure projects and what makes them unique. You mentioned that you and your crew make up 1% of this. So that's not a lot of people, but it has to be a fairly specialized group of people with specialized knowledge. So what besides that makes it unique?
Sure. So healthcare in general, if we're working with patients next door to us, if you will, throws in a lot of infection control that we have to be prepared for. What you might hear from others is ICRA or ILSM, which ICRA is the infection control risk assessment, and then ILSM's interior life safety. And these are types of permits that we can get inside of a healthcare institution. And they're things that we have to do in order to make sure not only the health of our patients, but it's part of the requirements for healthcare in general. But we end up putting up usually hard barriers, depending on the type of project. If I'm painting a room or whatever, then I put up a hard barrier that nothing, dust, otherwise can pass through. Hopefully no odors. We usually have to run negative air machines that basically they would rather pull stuff from out in the hallway and pull it into that space versus it being positive and pushing it out into the space where patients are walking past us. So those are just some of the minor nuances. I get lucky being that my MEP projects, mechanical, electrical, and plumbing projects, are usually behind the scenes.
Yeah.
So if our mechanical door gets closed or is able to close for the work that we're doing, then usually we don't end up having to do those types of containments. But we still have instances where there might be a box that's above ceiling out in the middle of a corridor that we have to do, or we have a boatload of elevator projects that are going on right now, and we have to shut those down and make sure that if we do any dust, that we're reducing that. And there's different containment carts that we'll have, which are basically cubes, if you will, that are probably 2 foot wide by 3 foot long. And they have walls that can raise up to the ceiling so that you can keep the dust in there and you can turn a fan on or actually keep the dust from getting out of the space. So if you open up the ceiling, because sometimes you just need to pop a ceiling tile and just look in that 2 foot by 2 foot area, and then you can get all the information you need or do what you need to do for the work. So that's
really
some of the nuances on the healthcare side.
Yeah, it's incredibly interesting because you don't think about that side of it a lot, and like what all must have to. Well, true.
We don't want you to know about all that stuff whenever if you're a patient or a visitor of a patient.
Yeah.
We don't want you to know about all that going on. So
very cool. And so I'm gonna steal the next question just because it got me thinking about it because you were talking about the box. So you talk a lot. Your slogan you're saying is think outside the box. Is that where that comes from? Is think outside that box or a different one? Or
no,
all of them?
I've always kind of had that slogan for myself. So growing into the PM world and all that, I would always sit there and watch people. Well, this is what the textbook said. The textbooks doesn't always work for everybody. It doesn't necessarily, you have steps A through Z, and I know that I need to complete steps A through Z, but it doesn't matter. As long as I'm following the rules and guidelines, then I should be able to get there however I can. And my goal personally is always to figure out, can I skip and it's not really a skip, if you will, but skips D through F and basically hop skip over them.
Mhm.
They get done, but they're done quicker, more efficiently. And I want ideas to go outside and to think outside the normal box, if you will. You mentioned your Australian friend.
Mhm.
So when I was at Francesca's, I got tasked with how do we start doing punch lists remotely? How do we start doing FaceTime? How do we reduce? Because it was $1,500 to $2,000 every single trip we took to get out there. And so they're like, let's see what we can do to reduce cost. Maybe we can add in other locations. Well, I said, well, what about the FaceTime punches? And FaceTime being an iPhone thing, but any type Skype, Zoom, if you
Sure.
will. And this is all before COVID. So none of this stuff is really out there to an extent. I was racking my brain looking for punch list and just nothing's coming up. Then I came across the word audit. It's not an unusual word, but that's what in Australia they call punch list, or at least when I found it. And I was literally scrolling on tech websites, just trying to find different things and see. It could have been me looking for new speakers for my house or something. Who knows? And I scrolled across the word audit, and that made me trigger something. So I went to the Apple App Store and typed in audit, and then it just gave me a whole world of things.
Very
And
nice.
there was an app that I was able to find, and that app allowed me to create a punch list, digital punch list, that not only could I do it from FaceTime, I happened to do it from, let's see, I was in Houston, and my contractor was at Fargo, North Dakota. And it was 3 foot of snow, so I was happy that I wasn't there because me and snow don't get along. Me and cold
I
don't.
lived there until I was 8, so in Minot.
More power to you.
We obviously moved, so
Yeah, yeah. Well, then there was another one. I personally am not a big wine drinker. Everyone has their thing, but I wasn't a big wine drinker. I had a store out in Napa that I needed to do. So I handed off the digital punch list to somebody that had never done a punch list. They've walked stores because they were on the real estate side of things. And they took that punch list. They only missed one item from that punch list. It's kind of big, but it wasn't in the punch list or the audit, if you will. But that's where it really triggered to me. You've got to think outside the box of the norm. Don't stay in your confines. Figure out step outside that box and think of it differently. Go look at a different industry. Go change your brain thought process and see if there's another way of doing it. And I always work with my new PMs as they come in and tell them, go follow everybody. Watch how they do it. No one person is doing it right or wrong. The way you get it done and you get the project done under budget and on schedule is how it's the right way to do project management. So
yeah, it's such a great concept and a way to really just kind of live through things. If my high school math teachers would have taken that approach, I would have done really well. I could always do the math, right? I could always get the result, but I couldn't do it how they wanted me to. And it was so frustrating to me. And I'm like, I got the right answer. And they're like, well, but you didn't do it the right way. And I'm like, ugh. And it was just a forever battle. But in all truth and not joking, I've thought about that a lot over the last couple of years, that, you know, that kind of way of thinking outside the box. And it's something I'm certainly in favor of. And, you know, there's more than one. In Arkansas, they say there's more than one way to skin a cat. It's really weird. I don't know. But there's more than one way to do things. And so we can all kind of, you know, add to that or take away from that. And I love that you were able to find what you were looking for. And I'm going to let Sloane keep us on track a little bit here. But also, I'm just curious. We can talk about it a little bit later. But I'm just curious because right when we had first met, AI was just like a very, very new thing. And you were already using it. So I've been wanting to ask you, I imagine you're totally geeking out at this point at all the opportunities. And I'm sure that, you know, you have to do that on a personal side because I know you guys have some regulations and things like that. But interested to know your take. For all the people that we talk to that are in the AI world and they use the AI things. My question is, what's your favorite AI right now?
So I'm still kind of stuck with ChatGPT.
Are you?
So it would be OpenAI. I do use Copilot at work, but it's not connected to the internet. They do a once a month download to update it, but it doesn't ever connect, if you will, to the open internet because of what you're talking about would be PHI, private health information. We don't ever want that to possibly get out and cause any disservices to anybody, whether it be an employee or a patient. So, but I use ChatGPT, use it to help me build Excel documents that I could only dream of. It's been just over a year now. I'd never built a Power BI dashboard, and I've probably built 5.
I don't even know what that
with
is.
the helps. Power BI is think of Excel on steroids and Access done easier. But you're connecting a bunch of data sources and you can link them together and then
Very
create
interesting.
nice fancy reports. It's like pivot tables, but again, on steroids.
Very nice.
So,
yeah, I could imagine that you would very much enjoy that. So yeah, that's very cool. Claude does a pretty good job with, Excel spreadsheets and stuff too. I've been working on some course development and, things like that I would typically do manually. It's just done. I can just tell it what I want and it's done. And so it's been brilliant as far as that's concerned and such a time saver. And
you still have to go back and look at everything. It's not that you're getting out of doing anything, but you're taking your thoughts, putting it into a system, and then you go back and you alter what you need to alter. But it takes what you were going to take 5 days to do, and you can get it done in 5 minutes.
Yes. And so my favorite feature is that I can talk to them. And so Sloane will typically be in the same office. We're in the same office together and she's on the other side of the room. And I'm like, don't mind me. I'm just talking to ChatGPT or Claude or Gemini or whatever. And so I'm over here just telling it. And I love that feature so much because it helps me get my thoughts out the way that it would be harder for me to sit there. Not that I couldn't do it, but sit there and type those thoughts. I can just tell it this is what I'm thinking. Can we work on this? And we adjust it this way or that. And so it's been brilliantly fun for me. I've had a lot of fun with it. So has Sloane. We've been very, very honored to have a unique position that we are in the weeds with several people who are very, very intelligent in that space and who've taught us and mentored us. And so it's been great. And I agree with you 100%. I don't think, and we've talked about this on other shows, the humanistic part of it's not going away. It's more getting on board and learning how to do those things that's the part that's more important. It's just, we've talked before, there was a time when the computer was overwhelming, right? We didn't know, we never thought we were going to have this thing sitting on our desk everywhere, or we could carry it around everywhere we go or whatever. And so the AI is another tool that we can use and there's more things coming, I believe. And so anyways, I was interested to hear your take on that. So I'll let Sloane have it back.
Well, there's only 2 things that I do call out as you're using AI, and this is for everybody out there too, is double check if you're just going to copy and paste, that you're not pulling some of the notes that AI is telling you, hey, do you want me to make this more professional or so on and so forth. I have seen that from some high up parties, internal and external. And then recently I'm in the midst of reviewing a change order and trying to figure out why we're even getting hit with it. But neither here nor there. I immediately could tell because of the length of the email that it was AI generated.
Absolutely.
And it causes a lot of frustration because I'm sitting there having to read through all this stuff. So take into account, sometimes you don't need all those details and you need to remember it should talk like you if you're going to utilize it. So
you really need to work with first and foremost, people need to get educated, like you said, on the nuances of it. And it's cool. And I can write an email for you, but did you read the email before you sent it? Number one, it probably only need to say a third of what you sent. I mean, nobody's going to read it because it's 5 pages long. And if there's certain nuances that a lot of us that have been into this know, okay, that wasn't you. Yes. And that's fine for certain things if we're just quick back and forth or whatever. But there is a humanistic portion of it that I need to be relaying what my thoughts really are in my voice and how it should be. I'm not as big on using it I don't use it at all for automated emails. I might help it gather my thoughts for me.
Yes.
But I'm very big, like you said, I'm making sure that it's your own voice and things like that. I think that's really important. Otherwise, like we would be lying if we didn't say like, oh, okay, that was so impersonal. Like they obviously didn't even write that. They didn't put any thought into that. And although that's not really true, right? Because there had to be some thought process going into creating whatever it was. But we definitely don't want to lose that human element that, oh, that really was Amanda talking to me, or that really was Sloane saying what she meant to say and not some computer saying what it thought she wanted to say. So
it's a tool, not a replacement.
Yeah,
So
that's absolutely right. I would just like to gripe for a second. If the AI is a pattern matcher, right? And we know that's what it is. It's going in, finding those patterns, and it's replicating. I don't know who is using that many M dashes that you are throwing off the AI algorithm. You think that all people talk like that or write like that with 500 dashes? We don't. Whoever's doing that, quit it.
Yep.
Just quit with the
That's probably one of my biggest gripes about it is like, please stop. Drives me crazy, but I'm also the grammar police. And like, I have no problem with the proper use of an M dash at all. I know that they've been used for eons and eons. However, every other sentence is not appropriate. So also that they should tell that you did not review your work before you sent it.
Amanda uses Grammarly on her texting.
I do.
Yeah.
Yes.
Even on her text.
Brooks, everything. Yes.
Yeah. Brooks, you say think outside the box. You also say prioritize people over task. And what does that look like day to day?
So I always try to stop if one of my PMs comes up to me, unless I'm literally in the midst of a meeting, and I try to give them my undivided attention. So taking the time instead of the task that is the meeting, if I need to put myself on mute because, okay, it's something that's, I'm just there as a face, if you will, then I can focus on the PM. Or if I tell them, hey, I can't talk right now, I immediately go back to them the minute I have an opportunity, or I text them if I don't see them and say, hey, I have time, let's go. So I'm always trying to be there for my people, because at the end of the day, my role is to make sure that they have the best possibilities of being successful in their roles. If they're not successful, then I'm not successful either. So
yeah, that's powerful.
Yeah, it is great advice. I think that takes into another question about building trust and communicating well. It's important that we do that with our teams, especially with what you're doing, because it's really, really complex stuff. So I think you had a question about that, Sloane, or maybe that was the question.
Well, and I do want to talk about too, you lead leaders. You don't just lead a project or manage a project. What have you learned about leading project managers, not just managing projects?
Sure. So it's a different aspect of looking at it, because people aren't projects, but at the same time, I try to still use that as an understanding that I want to build them up. I want to raise them on a platform, and I want them to get showcased in the best light possible when they're doing absolutely amazing. And then I tried to hide them when hiccups happen. Yeah. Things happen no matter what. I mean, I've always, and I try to tell my PMs, start the project off when you do the kickoff meeting. Hey, we're going to have an issue. I don't like calling them problems. We're going to have an issue. How we work together as a team is how we end up having a successful project. So taking the time that way and getting them in the front end just to kind of get it's not going to go perfect. There will be some type of a glitch of what it could be just the wrong color. And then we have to talk about the color, and we'll work on that. But it could be minor as that, or it could be as major as you name it. The hiccups happen. I mean, it's just a part of life. At the end of the day, we're all humans. Heck, even the non-human, as we were just discussing, has hiccups.
This is very true.
Or indashes.
What I like to remember about we're all just humans, I also like to say it's all our first time on Earth. It's the first time I've been here. It's the first time you've been here. Right. And so grace goes a long way. And we practice that a lot in this office. Well, Miss Amanda practices showing me grace. It really is a one-way street. And I am so appreciative of it. Another thing I want to talk to you about is building trust and communication. You're working with projects that are complex, they can be disruptive, and they can be highly visible. But how do you build that trust and that communication with your people?
So I have to work with my team to make sure that they're communicating out as much as possible. And sometimes, I mean, it may take us 12 months before we finally get approved to be able to do that particular outage, because one of them came up recently. We had a inpatient tower that we had to shut down the domestic water for the whole building. So there was no toilets, no drinking water, no ice, and we had active patients in this building.
But you had a lot of happy people.
We had a lot of nurses that were real happy with us because it meant they had additional workload. And we never want that to happen, but it's what we had to do in order to complete our project. So we ended up having to make sure that there was water, drinking water, hand washing water, and toilet flushing water on 20 plus floors.
Oh. Wow.
And we couldn't bring it out there sooner because we happened to be going through a joint commission review too, the week before, the week of the outage adjustment. Yeah. Yeah. So again, we talked about it earlier. You have to roll with the punches, but being communicative with the team and the clients and advising and having those discussions with them of what's going to happen, how we're going to do it. I mean, at the end of the day, we had some issues that came up on that project. It's going to happen. No patients noticed. They were fine.
Right.
But there were other issues while we were getting materials delivered, but we couldn't shut off the water until we were able to move forward. So
yeah, that sounds like just absolutely overwhelming to me. So remind me, I know you work on site, but do you work hybrid or are you always on site?
Sure. So we're hybrid. I have opportunities. Today is one of those where I get to be remote.
Sure.
Mondays and Fridays typically are remote. Tuesday through Thursday, we're in office, but
nice.
We do have an understanding with our project managers and ourselves. The projects dictate what we have to do.
Sure.
If I can only shut it off at midnight and I'm shutting off a whole building's power, I'm probably going to be there at midnight too.
Right.
Probably 2 to 3 hours before to make sure that we're able to start at midnight. So there's things that happen and we all have to adjust accordingly, and thankfully have a graceful wife and usually the children are asleep at that point in time. It just makes for a bright and early morning the next day.
No doubt. Yeah, because you have 2 little ones. So yeah, that's exciting for sure. It makes it, hopefully that doesn't happen too often, but I could understand how that would be, doing some of that stuff later in the night would be more beneficial to the whole of everyone, especially, in the position that you're in. So, all right, Sloane, where are we at?
We are at those 2 questions that we ask
all of
our guests. Yeah. So these are our 2 questions we ask every guest. We've never gotten the same answer, and it is probably our favorite part. So I'm going to ask the first one, and Miss Amanda, if you wouldn't mind to ask the second one. All right. Brooks, name a leader you admire and share briefly why they've influenced you.
Oh, goodness. So this one's difficult. I'd probably say my father is a leader that I look up to, but going with the general that everybody would know, there is a quote, and I'm going to butcher it, but a quote by Bill Gates, and I know Amanda's heard me say it, but I'll hire the lazy person because they'll figure out how to get me from step A to Z quicker. So that's the general gist of the quote. There's some things that I'm not a fan of Bill Gates, but there's things that with everybody. I mean,
absolutely
that quote, that's built Microsoft. That is how he built Microsoft, and he wouldn't be where he is today to be able to put his word out there without having had that idea. So, and it's not that the person's lazy. It's just they figure out how to be more efficient with their time and more efficient with processes. So in this case, use AI. So you're not spending 5 days trying to do something. They figure out how to code something so that they're not having to go press the left click on the mouse 50 times. So
work smarter, not harder.
Yeah, exactly.
I live by that.
And I think it's brilliant. I also would like for my team to employ that as well. just get us, again, it goes back to thinking outside the box, right? I think about my math teachers in high school. It's like, I don't need to write 5 pages of it if I can get the answer. And I do understand the value in some of that. I'm not completely lost on that, but I think sometimes, it is just like, we just need to get from point A to point B, and however you best feel like we can get there most effectively and most efficiently, let's do that. And I'm a huge proponent of that. So, especially if we don't have to write out 5 pages of a math problem. So,
Absolutely.
Agreed. And that's the reason why I don't like the word problems. You said it. Math problem. That's what everybody thinks of. It's a negative connotation. Nobody enjoyed math. They might have been good at math, but nobody enjoyed it. So,
well, I think there's some people, my brother's really, he actually really quite enjoys math.
I took 6 years of high school math throughout high school in the 4 years. I mean, I did a lot of math, but I
took 6 years of it, Brooks, because I couldn't pass it. But put me in English language arts. So in all truth, I had a friend who was really great at math and I was really great at language arts, and we were opposites. And so we would like do each other's work for them. It worked out brilliantly. So that's how I made it through like at least 1 year of high school. But yeah, I mean, if you need me to write a paper or prove something for you, I'm your lady, but I am not the one for math. No, do not call me for that. But this is an age, because I'm this old, that they told us we wouldn't have calculators, and here we do. So, and I know, that's a pretty common saying now, but we really were told, you're not going to have a calculator. Yes, I do actually.
Yeah. So I lived in different states growing up, and it was funny because I had the exact same math book when I moved from Florida to Texas, and absolutely the same math book. But in Florida, I was required to not use a calculator. So we'd only gotten through 2 or 3 chapters at that point in time in the school year. I get over to Texas, exact same math book, but they were allowed a calculator, and they were already through like 10 chapters of the textbook. So I had to catch up on the other 7 because we were learning it by hand.
Yeah.
And they were doing it by calculator.
Probably
so they
not necessarily a negative thing.
It wasn't, but I had to catch up on all that math. So that's where.
Well, they probably let you use the calculator, because isn't it like Texas Instruments or something? They had to supply those to everybody in Texas. It probably was a requirement. Like, okay, well, Texas is making the calculator. Everybody gets one.
We got to use it. No, I use a calculator, and I am, in fact, paid to talk all day. I would like for my teachers to realize that. Both of those things that they said. You won't have a calculator everywhere, and nobody's paying you to talk.
Well,
correction, here I sit. So
let's talk about that.
Yeah.
No, I had a recruiter one time tell me I'll never be able to run a business. She's like, "What do you want to do?" And I said, "I want to be the CEO of a company or start up a company." And she's like, "Well, you'll never do that without going to get your MBA." And I said, "Okay." So I went and started my own company. It was short lived. It lasted for about 2 years, but
you did it.
I did it.
Yeah.
So
I didn't know that was a requirement of becoming a CEO, because I will not be able to hold that title anymore. I mean, I did have somebody tell me, how did you just become a CEO? I'm like, well,
I do what I want.
I opened up a company and I put CEO because that's my title. And then I try very hard to do the job that goes along with it. So that's how you do that.
That's how you do it.
If anybody was wondering, that's how you do it. Also, but let me just put the caveat that you also have to pay the taxes, which come along with that. So, and you do not want that. So, well, I want to respect your time. I'm so grateful for you being on. It's always so great to talk to you. Our last question is this. When you think about your legacy, what lasting impact do you hope to have?
So I hope that I leave behind something that my children can be proud of. And then I know y'all are looking too at the people. I want them to look at me that I made them think outside the box. I made them think differently and help them to become a better person for not only themselves, but personally, but also professionally too.
Yeah.
Because there's things that we all could do just a little bit better. And hopefully that I get to pass that along to them when I'm working with them, whether directly or indirectly. So
that's a beautiful answer. Yeah.
Yes.
I love that. I think that's definitely a hope that we all can, that whoever is under our charge, whether it's our family or the people that we're working with, that we can hopefully leave that kind of lasting impact. Like, that person really treated me differently, or did things differently, or didn't jump down my throat when something went wrong, or things like that, or allowed us to think outside the box. I know we've talked about before too, like, one of the best ways I have found to learn is to fail. Those things stick with me. And so we have to allow our teams and our family members to fail sometimes, so that we can learn those things that we need to become the better version of ourselves. And so, well, thank you so much, Clinton Brooks Herman, for coming on our podcast, our little podcast that we started. So we started this back in January. It's Sloane's fault that we started it now.
You had to
We
make
just
sure
have
she could
fun.
talk all day and tell the teachers that.
Yeah.
That's right.
I mean, she didn't know that she was hiring somebody that was really had a vendetta to.
Well, I would have jumped on board with the math. No hate to math teachers. My math teachers were great. Most of them were gracious with me, but it's just not how my brain
Well,
works.
that
And I'm
clicks for
sorry. And
people. Yeah.
so very grateful for calculators and AI. So
Yes.
there you go. But thank you for being on with us. Congratulations to you and your beautiful wife and your beautiful children on your recent move, and
Appreciate it.
hope things, continue to settle in and the air conditioning gets fixed and all is well there in your home. And just again, thank you for staying in touch and for just being a great asset and a great contact. You're just brilliant, and again, I envy your planning and just organization of everything. You're fabulous at that. So
No, I
shout out
appreciate
on
it.
that.
And I think what y'all are doing is a great thing too.
Thank
So
you.
keep it up and don't stop.
Thank
Well,
you.
thank you.
It's been a wild ride. So I think we're
Appreciate y'all.
Thanks, Brooks.